This is the national program. Ancient Greek Song. The oldest Greek music which has come down to us dates from the 2nd century BC. Of the earlier music, practically nothing is known. Miss Margaret Andrewes has made versions of a number of the songs which survive, and you will hear some of them this evening sung by Mr. John Butt, lecturer in English at Bedford College, where Miss Andrewes is lecturer in Latin. She will introduce these songs and explain the circumstances of their composition. Miss Andrewes.
The Greek music which you are to hear is not of the time of Aeschylus and Sophocles and Plato. Only a phrase or two of that has come down. We know little of the music of the 6th and 5th centuries, except that it employed intervals more subtle and often smaller than those of our scale, which has a semitone for its smallest interval. But the extant songs date from a later period, and can be sung to our piano scale without serious injustice. Mr. Butt doesn't claim to sing these hymns and songs as they were originally sung. No one knows enough about it to do that. The pitch has been deliberately altered for convenience, and apart from missing notes, there must inevitably be many differences of rendering from the original performance. Still, the music is lovely, and it is worth attempting to convey something of its effect. The earliest songs are hymns to Apollo, sung by Athenian choruses at Delphi beneath Mount Parnassus. The music was inscribed on marble and was discovered during the French excavations at Delphi about 40 years ago. Mr. Butt will begin with the First Delphic Hymn, written in the Dorian mode, something rather like our minor. It's in 5 time, like the second movement of Tchaikovsky's Pathetic Symphony. This is the rhythm.
La 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 la.
He's going to sing it first in 3 sections separately and then straight through. Here's a translation of the beginning. Listen, you who dwell on deep-wooded Helicon, fair-armed daughters of loud thundering Zeus, come to sing songs of praise to your brother Phoebus, golden-haired, who comes up to his home, the twin peaks of this cliff of Parnassus, with the glorious women of Delphi, to the streams of Castalia's fair waters, making for the prophetic rock.
Keklut helikon abathut dendron hailaket Dios eridromus ugatres julenor Maledictiuna maimon hina foibanuda estimerteti crucia caman Hosanna picarun ma parnasidos Tas Peteras Hedoras Amagasutais Deldesin Catalidos Iushudru Norma Definizata Delfonana Bruna Manteon Eltefon Pagnon
In the second part, the chorus sings in praise of Athens, and the style changes to something more warmly coloured, and little chromatic phrases come in.
Inclutam megalopolis assidiur caesis serapnoionius atritonidos Daptedonas rausam hagios dimbomoisis hafaistos aethenion mirataurum Amudin larrapt atmosphers alium onanakidnatam Lutas bremon aiolois meresinudan crecem crucea, cadus crucifaris, cum noi sine meltetai.
In the third section, with a return to Apollo and his achievements in seizing the seat of prophecies from the dragon at Delphi, we are back again in the earlier style. The stone on which the words and music are inscribed is badly defaced here, and one can only say of this third section that it ended something like this, though perhaps nearly half the notes are gone, and the end is wholly lost.
Habitec niton propas hesmos attida lacon tom cisaris seclutum paida megaludios nusis paracroniceton de tagon ambrosaptius et potes nato et profaines logia Ripodam manteon hold heles exprom omnefrore dracon.
Now, hear the hymn once more, this time straight through.
Cecus pellicula patus dendron haelatis Dio feri trombuto capriciolem noi Maledictionem maemam hina foibanudae Simelsiti crucia caman Hossanaticum ma parnasidos Caspiteras hedras amagatusai veldevin Catalidos iusiudrum nama definizata Delphonana prona manteon et pontagon Inclusan megalopolis apsis iulcaesis Seraf Leonius atritonidos Dacedonas rosam hagiois dimbomois Hafais nofais denion miratauron Narratat montes alium pananakinatai Digus lotas tremol aiolois meleciodan crece Crucea cadum crucifaris cum non sinanam meltetai Habitec niton tropas hesmos attida lacon ton cisaris seclutum paida megaludios cum nusis paracroniceton de tagon ambrosaptius et potes nato et profaines logia Ripodam manteon hold heles exprom omnefrore dracon.
The other songs probably belong to the early centuries AD. Earliest, perhaps, is the epitaph of Sikilos, a cheerful reminder carved on his tombstone in Asia Minor. The mode is Phrygian, akin to our major with Saturn 7th. While you live, be gay, and for nothing deeply grieve. Life is short, and the end time claims. Notice that there are no sudden jumps in the tune after the first leap of a fifth,
La la
and that the melody tends to circle about the central note, which is the most important one of the scale.
la 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 Hafonses faino neden hollos julupus Rasaliganes iptazen Sotelos Ochronos Apaites.
Next is a hymn to the Muse. The hymn of praise to the sun, composed by a Cretan at Hadrian's court in the 2nd century A.D.
Cium noble faru pateraus, trado sanos antuga pollon, sanois ciutic nesis iulces, cruciais in agallom memnos commais, Perinorton aperiton uranum, actina palus strophon aplecon, aeglas poluderce apagan, Erigaian hatastan elistos.
And last comes the Christian doxology. It was found written on an old corn account of the 3rd century A.D. and is by far the earliest piece of church music extant. The mode is different, but the tune shows obvious affinities both with earlier Greek music and with later plain song. Here again, the meaning of certain signs in the manuscript is doubtful, but this is a probable interpretation of the music. It starts in the middle of a line, and a few notes have had to be supplied to fill in a gap. May the light-bearing stars not keep silence, nor the springs of the rushing rivers. While we hymn the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, may all the powers cry aloud, Amen, Amen, might and praise, to the only giver of all good, Amen, Amen.
Kai potamon rosion pagan, Ium non ton demon patera, quiam cagiam pluma, asai dunamis epifondon, amen, amen, kratos ainos, doxis ae, doterim anno, panton agathon. Amen, amen. Ecu peldicuna patudendron haelacesti, Dios eri promutu catris julenoi, Maledictium mai manhida volvan odaes in mercede, crucio caman, Hosanna dicarun vapanas in tas pedran, hamagas lutais deltes in castaredos iudru, nomade benizatai. Deu ponanda prona manteon etefon vagon. In tutam megalopolis atis iucaresi, Seroploionius aturiton Dapedonas rausam hagiois divomoisin havaistos aetenion meratauron Moden minarepet Montezalium Banana kinatan Igulillo dan Bromnon Aiolois Nelatino dan Kreken Cruceat hado Fruskisaris Jumnol sinanam melbetan Hattan vel vainu Meiden hallos jullupo Prapalugan eftirtad zel Tattelas pakranas apaitet Calliopeia sapamuzon Prakataget eterpnon Cae sapemus adotalatus gane Delia paian Iumenes parestem